Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dale Stonick. I'm the Director of Safety here at Doran. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, especially those of you who are out in cold adverse conditions. I just want to remind you to be careful out there for frostbite and hypothermia. Joining me today is my partner in crime, Jason O'Brien, Hours of Service Manager. Jason, how are you?
I am awesome. Good afternoon, drivers.
All right, thank you, Jason. I'd like to go ahead and get started with our metrics and let everyone know how we're doing so far this year. We'll start off with our CSA score. For the BME A score, our unsafe dropped 5 percentage points to 65%. Hours of service went down 1 point to 71. Vehicle maintenance was flat at 81. Driver fitness saw a 1% drop to 13. Crash was flat also at 25%. And drug and alcohol reduced by 1% to 2%. Our WIN government secured numbers are the following. Unsafe moved up 1 percentage point to 2. Hours of service went down 1 percentage point to 23. Vehicle maintenance stayed flat at 35. Driver fitness score is 0. Crash 0. And drug and alcohol is 0. Would like to thank everyone for doing a great job with those scores. Thank you so much. Moving on to our claims numbers. We're starting off strong again like we did last year. Our goal is the same at 0.75% of our revenue to keep claims underneath. So far, we're only about 0.1% at claims. We have had a couple accidents here so far this year that I would like to highlight. Last week, we had one of our drivers who was pulling into a garage to get a tire changed, and it ended up hitting their door, knocking the door off the railing and damaging the door. That is a case where you definitely need to make sure you have clearance. If you do need to get out and look, please do so. Damaging property like that turns into a pretty expensive liability claim. On the cargo side, we had a claim from November that I do want to highlight because it's turning out to be a little bit more expensive claim than we initially thought. Our driver who had to tarp the load had a hole in his tarp. All the steel tubes got wet and the load was totally rejected. That is a case you need to look over your equipment and repair it or replace it. Obviously, if you need to tarp something and if it has a hole in it, it's not going to do what it's supposed to do, and you end up with a very expensive claim. The one other accident I do want to highlight in today's call is one of our teams had a right-hand squeeze accident. They were obviously trying to make a right-hand turn. Their trailer got too far away from the curb, and a passenger car was able to slide in between them and the curb. When you are making those right turns, when you have long pieces of equipment like that, please make sure you're looking at your mirrors and safeguard the curb. Put your trailer in a position so that passenger cars can't slide in there, and we end up having an accident with that. Jason, if you wouldn't mind doing the honor and reading off the drivers who had clean inspections this month.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking a look here, I do have all the drivers that did get clean inspections since our last call. Starting with the WIN government side of things, we had Joey Lawson. With our general freight, we had Harry Daggle, Daryl Salyers, Dale Thompson, Edwin Diaz, Ivory Chandler, Harry Eggston, Max Kelly, Robert Williams twice, and that would round out all of our cleaning for the past month.
Oh, excellent. Great job to all of our drivers who did get clean inspections. We will have a drawing here later in the meeting for an extra $100. We appreciate the work that you're doing. Transitioning that over to inspections, last week we had a pretty rough week when it came to roadside inspections. We had 5 failed roadside inspections. A lot of them were for vehicle issues. Most of that could have been prevented. We done walk-arounds the truck anytime we stopped. We had a stop in which the license plate light was out, fire extinguisher was not filled. Another stop, we actually failed to stop at the scale. They stopped us down the road, and we had a turn signal out on that inspection. Third inspection was a pretty major one. We had 2 tires that were below 2/32. We had the retroreflective tape on the back of the trailer. It was not completely the whole length of the trailer. It was missing about 2 or 3 inches from the edge. We were written up for that. Airlines had a leak. and it wasn't properly secured. Another stop, the amber light on a headlight was out, and again, retroeffective mud flaps did not have the tape on it. So, I mean, if you do walk around, make sure you look at those items that are observable, like lights and tires. That could definitely help minimize the number of violations we get. If you can do that and repair it right away, we will definitely be in a better shape. Jason, would you mind talking about some hours of service issues?
Well, I would love to talk about hours of service issues. So let's get that started. Do you want to go with that, Dale, or did you want me to start with announcing the winner of the $100 gift card?
Do the $100 gift card. We always like good fun like that.
Okay. Well, I haven't actually chosen one yet. I'm going to do that right now after a little bit of mixing up some entrants here. And the winner would be Robert Williams. So that Mr. Williams will be expecting that gift card. We'll get that out to you here shortly. Let's see, moving on to the hours of service part of things. One thing that I was wanting to bring up with our drivers is that the DVIR, whether it would be on paper, on an e-log device, or just the electronic log, so whether it's the Keep Trucking and the Ram McNally, the Keep Trucking app without the ELD part of things, or the box part of things, anytime that you would have a DOT inspection, if they note on there that there was an issue, you would need to fill out the DVIR section that day. If it's paper, you need to fill out the DVIR section that day, saying what they said needed to be replaced or corrected on the vehicle. So it's important that we do that because it is a regulation. So if you're on Ram McNally and you don't do a DVIR for the day that you had your inspection with what the issue was with the truck or trailer, there's not a way to go back and fix it. It's just going to be in the system that way, and we open ourselves up to being in jeopardy for an audit or other things like that, discovering those things. So anytime that you are going to get a DOT and you do put that in there, like on the Keep Trucking, you just go to your log and then hit the inspection portion. With the Ram McNally, you just hit the options tab. There's a DVIR button. You just hit that and hit add DVIR. And then on paper, you would just go ahead and, of course, fill it out there down at the bottom of the piece of paper. So that's kind of something I wanted to mention. Make sure that our drivers are putting those in if you do get a DOT inspection that's not clean on what those problems were, because they do need to be in there. I did also just want to remind everybody, of course, to make sure that we're using the personal conveyance responsibly. It continues to be something that we're seeing on inspections being reported as a negative thing and getting points for that. So just use it mindfully in the right way so we can prevent getting those points. One other thing that we've been seeing, and this can be kind of true for either type of log, is the logs not being current. I guess it's more on the paper side, but if you're on paper or you're using the Keep Trucking app, please make sure that you're updating your status each time that you're changing it for whatever your last duty status is. That's what they're going to expect to see when you get that inspection. That's just something that's kind of been on the rise lately, and we'd like to keep that down and prevent those points from occurring as well. I did also want to mention, if anybody is out there and they're on paper, we have had some paper drivers switching over to the Keep Trucking app. They absolutely love it. So if you had any questions on how that works, or you might be interested in not having to drive axle your logs in, or you might be interested in not having to draw the lines on the graph and stuff like that, the Keep Trucking app does those things for you. It makes your life a lot easier. It still functions as a paper log in a lot of ways. It's just that you're doing it on a digital device, and it prevents you from doing a lot of the things that kind of become a hassle with paper logs, if you ask me, and some other drivers will tell you the same thing. So if you're interested in maybe switching that, please let me know, and we can give it a try and see how you like it. I think it's a big benefit to you and the company as well in certain circumstances. So with that, Dale, I'd like to go back to you and get any thoughts.
Thank you, Jason. Just want to remind everybody, if they have a safety tip or question, to hit *3, and we will take it at the end of the meeting, *3. The one thing I did want to mention again is last week we did have 2 drivers who got violations for the retroeffective tape. One on a trailer that was cut up, marred, and didn't go all the way across the back, and then the other one was not having it on your mud flap on your tractor. That's something that you should inspect. It's easy to fix. You can get that tape at any truck stop. Make sure you're actively looking at that. That's easy pickings for a DOT officer to get. And then the other thing is carry some spare lights. That way we can avoid these minor violations, and we're working towards getting our CSA vehicle maintenance score down under the threshold this year. With that, I would like to mention, sorry, Jason.
On that, I'd also like to mention, since we had an orientation today, we have a driver that's coming back, and we were talking about having some spare lights on board, and he thought it's also a good idea, and I agree with him, to maybe also carry some extra fuses as well.
Now, that is a good idea. I would like to mention a couple of housekeeping things with safety meetings. We do have some upcoming safety meetings in the next couple of weeks. We have Cincinnati here on February 16th. That is 8:30 in the Great Wolf Lodge in Mason. We'll have Knoxville, Tennessee on the 23rd. That'll be at the Holiday Inn West, Cedar Bluff. And then Morton, Illinois, the Holiday Inn there at 8:30 also. So please plan on attending. If you have not done an in-person meeting, I would encourage you to do so. Our qualifications are that you do 2 in person and then the other 2 online. So look forward to attending those meetings, and we look forward to seeing you. The other thing that I would like to mention is that safety bonuses for the fourth quarter have paid out. They paid out about a week and a half ago. So if you did not see that, you're more than welcome to ask, and we can see what happened. If you didn't get it and you think you should, as long as you made the qualifications. And I would like to point out, last year I looked at the figures. We paid out over $250,000 in safety bonuses to our drivers. So, I mean, I think that is a case where safety does pay. Jason, do we have any drivers coming online with questions or a tip?
Taking a look right now, we don't have any questions in the queue, but I did notice that we have Harry Daggle on the phone. He's somebody that got 2 clean inspections since our last meeting there. We do have some people, friends of the show, on there, I have noticed.
Well, that's good. We enjoy people calling in and trying to keep up with what's going on in safety and making sure we're doing the right things out there all the way. Once again, if you have any tips or questions, *3, and we are just about ready to go ahead and take some questions or take some safety tips. All right, so *3 once again. So, Jason, with the gentleman orientation, with his suggestion, how did that conversation go about? Were we just talking about ways to prevent that, and he came up on his own with that?
Well, what we were doing is the safety meeting part of the orientation. So one of the last things we pretty much do here, we were mentioning how, it's always brakes, lights, and tires, and lights is one of the easiest things that you can check during your pre, mid, and post-trip inspections, so you should always catch those for the most part. Now, when we were mentioning that, he thought that it would also be, privy to most drivers to carry some extra fuses, because fuses, just like lights, can go out, and it doesn't hurt to have a couple extra fuses. It's not expensive to do so. So it could be a good thing to prevent some violations.
Yes, I agree. I kind of feel like a lot of drivers do carry spare parts, and I got to encourage everybody, if you see something wrong, go ahead and fix it right away. Even if you don't have the part, I would encourage you to fix it on the road. I know it's more expensive, but you run a huge risk of getting pulled in the scale before you can make it back home, and that's how these violations occur, by, putting off maintenance that should be done, hoping to get back home without it being seen, and that's how we're running into issues right now. So once again, *3 with any questions or tips.
Yep. Dale, we do have a caller or 2 in there right now. We're going to go ahead and get on the horn with Sean Bolden. So, Sean, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, I got a question for you guys. I run paper logs, and I realize you guys have changed the format on the new paper logs. And in the bottom right corner, you guys want mileage and stuff down. Does that mean I don't have to do the trip sheet no more, or do I still have to do the trip sheet?
Well, that's a great question, Sean. There was what I call, being the hours of service manager, an issue with our logs, and we needed to get the mileage off of there. So there were some that were ordered a while ago. Anyways, the short answer is yes, you'll need to fill out a trip report, but that would be on a separate piece of paper. And the reason behind that is if the mileage is on your log, we have to keep that log for 7 years when like regulation-wise, we only need to keep your actual driving log for 6 months. So the driving part of it, for like your graph, we only need for 6 months, and if that mileage is on there, we have to keep that mileage for 7 years. So to prevent us from having to keep all of the logs for 7 years in totality, we got rid of that mileage part on there, and you should use trip reports. Now, most drivers on paper already use trip reports, and if you don't have any, I can certainly get some to you.
Oh, yeah, I use the trip reports, but I had some paper logs sent to me, and they've been completely changed. It looked like I had to copy it down again. That's why I was asking. Because the new one has carbon in it, and that block type stuff, I guess block lettering or whatever.
Well, they shouldn't have changed too much. Is the log that you have blue or white?
Yeah, this was blue, and that's the one that's the one that asks for the mileage in the right corner.
It does, and don't fill that part out. Just keep doing trip reports
Okay.
like you have been, and you just happen to get an old logbook.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to ask, please take away the carbon.
Yeah, it's not on the new ones. And if you need them, I can send out some of the white newer ones.
Yeah, if you could, send me a couple of those newer ones out.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, because I got older ones on the last round. I was like, oh man, we're going to carbon. But another question, real quick. You was talking about the reflector tape. Now, of course, I got an older trailer. That doesn't go from one end down to the other, but I got like 2-foot sections, so many feet apart. It doesn't have to go all the way down, or.
Well,
I mean, it goes all the way down the trailer. There's just spaces in between.
Sean, what we got written up for was on the back end of the trailer. There was 2 grommets on the very end, and the tape needed to run in between the grommets on the back side of the trailer, and it was about 3 inches short on the right-hand side, and the officer wrote us up for that defect.
Okay. All right, so as long as I've got something there.
Yeah, the tape was torn off, so I mean, make sure on the back side it runs the length of, the back part of the trailer and the sides. I believe, I'm not as familiar with the regulations. I just know you need to have it on the side every so often.
Okay, yeah, because I just took a bunch of 2-foots and went from front to back and spaced them out. I mean, I got plenty on the sides. I just wanted to make sure I didn't have to cover the whole side.
No, and I would say that's true as well.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Those sections, the way you have them, you just find on the side.
Yeah, the other thing is make sure your mud flaps on your tractor has them up at the top part, and they run the length of the mud flap.
Yeah, I've got those ones. Do they still do the white reflector on back of the cab too?
Yeah.
You should.
All right, because I've been having troubles finding that white tape. I didn't know if you can use regular on there or not. I've been having problems finding that white one. Mine's starting to wear out. I mean, it's still up there, but.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of our drivers have racks on the back of it, so it kind of gets hidden anyway. But yeah, if you have it up there, that's right where it should be. All
right. That's all I got then.
All right. Well, thanks.
Unless you guys go bring in some sunshine and a little bit of heat.
We wish we could.
It's all.
I heard Chicago they arrested Elsa from Frozen. Too cold.
All right, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for the answers to the questions.
Well, yeah, thanks for calling.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on now to Chad Perkins. Again, *3 if you have any questions or safety tips. Please give us a call. Chad, go right ahead. What's your safety tip or question?
The safety tip is what y'all were talking about is the fuses. Over on the government squad, we have to have fuses because we go through the inspections at the bases and everything else when they're loading us up. And some of the guys are saying, okay, do you have fuses? If you don't, there's over on the ammo division, they need the fuses because they want us to be prepared just in case something happens. But it's also a good deal to also have spare fuses anyways. And that are be caught with your tail end down with lights off of the trailer that they blew a fuse, especially on some of the trailers at the Bennett side of the ammo division pulls around. So,
yeah, absolutely.
But that's the main deal. And I was going to ask the same question over on the reflecting tape. Does it have to be straight down the trailer and across the back, or just so many feet? But y'all answered that one, so I got my answers out.
Awesome. Well, that's great. Thanks a lot, Chad, for calling in. We appreciate it, man.
Thanks.
All right, we'll see you. All right, and then we do have another call. Looks like it's going to be Bernie. Bernie, go ahead. Long-time friend of the show.
Hey, Jason. Good to hear from you guys. Glad you're not frozen down there. Hey, Sean's question about the white reflector tape. What I did was I bought the red and white strips like he did and just cut it. And then you had your white strips. Yeah. Yep.
Well, yeah, I guess that's one way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he probably knew that too, but that's what I had to do to the back of my KW. I do the same thing. I bought the red and white strip, and then I just cut it, and I used the white ones on the back of the tractor. Yep. But you gotta have them because, if you go to Texas, that's a fine in Texas.
Oh yeah, they'll definitely get you there for that.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right, you guys stay warm down there. I'm trying to stay warm up here at the house. I didn't go nowhere. I'll be safe. They always tell us be safe. Well, I'm safe. My truck's parked.
Yeah, it's a good time for that with it being so cold.
Yep. All right, guys, have a good day. You and Dale. All right.
All right, we'll see you, Bernie. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah.
If you can't
no
find
problem.
just to cut the red off. Sounds good.
Yep.
So, Dale,
thanks, Bernie. Yes.
Going to close out any calls or questions we have in there.
Okay.
Do you have anything for the end of the call or anything else you need to speak about?
Nope, I'd just like to thank everyone for calling in and just remind everyone, if you are out today, make sure you dress warmly, and any skin exposed, make sure you get something on it because, frostbite can set in within a couple of minutes with some of these temperatures. Some Midwestern cities are reporting with wind chill you're down to negative 50 and 60 degrees. So I just want to be safe out there and make good decisions.
Yeah, that sounds great, and I kind of will echo Dale's comments there. Again, thank you for everything you do. Stay safe, especially in this extreme cold, and you guys all have a great day and week, and we'll see you next month.